Good thing I read the chat. I mean, I'm over here talking. Anyways, let's hang out. Let's hang out for a few minutes for people to come in. But I had to push this back because I forgot to, when I made my video overlays for the Dolby Atmos object viewer, I still had the title Superman on the bottom. So I know if I kept that on there, people would be like, dude, is this for Superman or is this for Fantastic Four? So I had to re-render it and push out the stream by a couple minutes. But let's hang out for a few minutes and see who is up in the chat. If you are here, say something in the chat. So we'll see what's up. What's up, Thor? Thor, he's a member of the YouTube community. How's it going, my man? So's Octo Chavez. Azzy the MLG Pro? What does MLG Pro mean, my man? What's that mean? Yes. I did have my microphone on mute. But if you guys had missed the Superman review that I did yesterday, it's now up. Also, I'm curious to know, I've been switching up a little bit my 4K reviews. You know, for the past like 7-8 years, I've been doing these 3 to 5 minutes, maybe sometimes 7-minute 4K reviews. But ever since I did like F1, I found that a lot of people were really interested in the longer format 4K reviews. So if you are interested in the long format reviews, let me know in the comments. Write down long. If you like the shorter formats, type down short. So I have a frame of reference which way I should go. I know I can cover more if I'm doing it live with you guys and I can edit it down. So, I mean, it's a little bit more fun having some of you guys interact at the same time. It's definitely more time consuming if I'm scripting out my reviews and keeping it down to like 3 to 5 minutes. So it's definitely more work that way. So, but for the time being, at least for these next few bigger titles, I think this longer format, I'm going to stick with this for a little bit. But we are, let me see what are we doing here? Do you already have the Blu-ray? No, I don't have the Blu-ray. We're going to be doing the iTunes review. I'm not going to be doing anything else, just the iTunes. The disc doesn't come out for a couple more months. So obviously the disc will be better, but for now we're just going to take a quick look at the iTunes version. Yes, completely biased shill review. Yes, Mudasser. Somebody left a comment on my Superman review that review was a biased and shill review. I didn't understand why, because I was just talking about Superman. It's not like Warner Brothers or James Gunn was like, hey man, could you shill this for me? I'll give it to you for free. It's kind of funny. But all right, let's go ahead. Let's get into this. I see a bunch of you guys are up here in the chat already. So what's up, guys? Today we are going to be checking out Fantastic Four: First Steps on 4K UHD on iTunes today. We'll come back around and check out the 4K Blu-ray when that releases sometime in the very near future. Now, I am going to be sharing just my thoughts on the audio and video quality. Again, these are my thoughts, so they may very well be different than yours. So let's go over a few tech specs. So this movie was shot on the ARRI 65 in 6.5K. It's got a 4K DI. It's PG-13, 114 minutes. Aspect ratio is 239:1, and just 239:1. So no IMAX shots in this digital 4K stream. And of course, the audio is in Dolby Atmos. And if you guys want to know what I'm using for these 4K reviews, there will be a link down in this video's description that tells you all about it, what it does, and where you can get it. But I am using 3 different display devices: my 55-inch Sony OLED, my 98-inch Sony Bravia 5 mini LED set, and of course my go-to 150-inch Sony Projector 8. So let's go ahead, let's jump into the Dolby Atmos mix first and foremost. Now, these are just rough estimates for my timestamps. I have cropped in a little bit, so you can kind of work around this if you're going to check this out for yourself. So this here is coming in at 4 minutes and 28 seconds. This is near the beginning of the movie where there is a montage of action going on showing what our Fantastic Four heroes are doing. And as you can see, for the most part, this is just a 7-channel lower bed mix, and it stays pretty much locked in 7 channels for about 99% of the time. And even with all of this action, as you can see, all 6 of my top channels, they are not really lit up right now. And check it out, there's all kinds of stuff going on. There is, well, obviously nothing's going to be going on here, but here we got Johnny Storm flying into the flames, which you would think you would hear some flames engulfing you in every direction, but nothing at all. It's only 7 channels, just in the lower half in the bed layer. Real disappointment, because this is Fantastic Four coming off of what I think is a pretty good mix from Captain America 4, which wasn't bad. And the Thunderbolts also wasn't that bad either. This is, for such, this is supposed to really kick off the new MCU. This mix right here is really quite a big letdown. And this is a bunch of really big montages. Here we've got the Pan Am building falling into the ground, which you should hear debris and everything floating above your head. But sadly, you do not get any of that above your head. Again, we're kicking this off really bad. Also, the bass response in that part, also very low as well. So let's move on over to 18 minutes and 54 seconds. This is our first introduction to Silver Surfer as she is coming down from the space. As she's coming down, you will hear those little yellow balls are actually choppers flying overhead. So some nice dynamic objects there. All 6 channels are lit up. However, though all 6 high channels are lit up with her vocals, so you will kind of hear her voice echoing in the top channels. And of course, those yellow balls are once again helicopters that are flying around above your head. And then we have what is happening in the lower 7 channels is just the ambiance with people chit-chatting and talking and stuff like that. So some nice ambiance. And again, you can see the chopper in the upper left corner as it's moving around in the yellow ball. So this is one of the rare, really busy, totally active Atmos dynamic mixes in this movie. So this is very effective. And this comes in at about 18 minutes in with our first introduction to the Silver Surfer. So let's move on out of this. Let's go over to 28 minutes, 19 seconds. Here we have, this is just a really quiet scene. I figured I'd throw a quiet scene in here. Again, up top, it looks like it's really busy, but this is just really some really light score. And I mean really light. I actually had to mute all the 7 bed layers and just see what was going on up top. And it's really just music playing in the top channels. Also, music is also just playing in the lower channels as well. So, and then all of the dialogue remains in the center channel. So it might look like it's really busy, but it's really just only music. And that's kind of a running theme throughout this entire Atmos mix. That comes in at 28 minutes. Now here we've got, this is a really interesting scene here. This is at 37 minutes, 55 seconds. Actually 38 minutes, 15 seconds. So this is the first time we get to see Galactus on his spaceship. As he's coming out, as he's rising from his chair or wherever he's rising up from, there's actually a ton. Anytime Galactus is on screen, there's a ton of bass in this. So unlike Superman, where the bass was kind of there, but not really, this has a ton of bass whenever Galactus is on screen. And the interesting thing about this is I had my crossover set on my speakers to 60 hertz. As he's coming out of the ground, rising up at 38.15, I think, 38.15, 38.17, there's actually a lot of bass that comes out of the top channels. So whenever somebody tells you that there is no bass in the height channels, top channels, pop this in, turn off bass management, and you should hear bass coming out, at least in the top front 2 channels, because my top left front channel actually bottomed out in this scene. So I had to change it from 60 hertz on up to 70 hertz. I think most of you guys are probably using an 80 hertz crossover anyways, so you're not going to be affected by this. But I recently had switched over to some larger RBH speakers, the 821s, which can go a bit lower. But I haven't switched over my top channels yet, so I switched all the lower bed channels to 60 hertz, which are bass capable. Unfortunately, for this scene, when Galactus came out, it really just bottomed out. And I was like, I thought I had ruined my top channel. But that comes in at 38 minutes and 17 seconds. Next scene is at 42 minutes, 43 seconds. This is the escape from Galactus's ship as the Invisible Woman is pregnant, so they're making their getaway, and they're being chased by the Silver Surfer. So this is a big action scene. The only real action we get to see is every time Johnny shoots his laser, it kind of swirls around that little tunnel that the Surfer is surfing in. This is very a la like Star Wars Millennium Falcon shooting the TIE fighters behind the Millennium Falcon. But except for the laser shots there, not much is going on in the top channels. Just some light music happening in the top rear channels. And then this is I had to edit this part out here, but as we are getting closer to the black hole, we start seeing some debris and all that engulfing you in the top channels, also in the lower channels. So this is a nice little scene towards the end of this specific chase. So this scene actually lasts for about 4 minutes or so. So for the first, I want to say like 3 minutes, 30 seconds, not much is happening in the top channels, despite there being a pretty heavy duty chase happening with the Fantastic Four and the Surfer behind them. So kind of a all right scene. It ends all right, but it starts off really disappointing. And that is at 42 minutes, 43 seconds. Another decent scene coming up. These are just all the standouts that I felt were worthwhile. This is at 1 hour, 11 minutes in. This is when Johnny is chasing the Surfer through the city. Actually, hold on. No, this is when Surfer is destroying all of the towers. Slight spoiler alert, but the Surfer is destroying some towers. But as she's flying through, music is playing in the top channels and nothing else. As the explosions are going off, you would think the explosions would be happening up top and in the lower bed channels, but it's mostly just music. And all the explosions are happening in the front 3 channels. So even though it looks like a really busy active mix, it's only active because it's music. Very disappointing. Like, once again, very disappointing. Coming towards the end here, hour 26, oh, my bad, hour 27. Here we have the attack on Galactus, and this is like the biggest action scene in the movie where the Fantastic Four is fighting Galactus. Good part here is that there is a whole lot of bass in this scene. Every time he's stomping on the ground, you feel it. It hits really hard in that 30 to 50, 60 hertz range, so you can feel it in your chest. If you got some capable subwoofers, it feels like Galactus is walking in your home theater. Unfortunately, all this stuff going on, everything catching on fire, the Ben Grimm swinging this around, smacking it into the Galactus's hand, all of that just happens in the front 3 channels. Everything else is all music. I mean, that is all music. All 7 layers. I muted just the front 3 channels and listened to just the 6 tops and the 7 bed, and it was all very light music with a very sporadic, you might hear Johnny Storm really quickly zip through a surround speaker, but it was really very rare. So all of this stuff, I mean, right here, you would think Galactus stepping overhead, you would hear something above your head, but you just don't. This is just all really light music. So despite this being pretty active for this end battle, it's all music. It's really disappointing. I mean, you might get distracted by the amount of bass during this scene because there is a lot of havoc that happens in the front LCRs and all the bass happening as Galactus is stomping through New York City. You might be distracted by that, but if you listen carefully, there's not really anything distinctly placed within the lower surround channels or in the top channels. And this happens pretty much the entire movie. It's mostly just music, and I found it to be very disappointing because I actually kind of like this movie. But that is the Atmos mix. Now, if we're looking for bass response, this is, I forgot when this come in at, about 1 hour, 10 minutes in. No, this is about another hour, 26 minutes in. So this is the kind of output that I was getting in my room. Obviously, I get a lot of output down to about 63 hertz. At about 63 hertz on down is where you get a lot of that big hefty chest slam. So every time he's stomping on the ground, it does hit really hard. And then it really starts dropping off from there from about 30 hertz on down. My mic is not picking up anything below 30 hertz, so that's why it's not showing anything there. But again, for your place, depending on how many subwoofers you have, how big your room is, you might experience something a little bit different. But for me, the movie starts off with really weak bass during that big battle montage at the beginning at about 4 or 5 minutes in. The bass is really weak. It's really anemic, but as the movie progresses on, once we see Galactus, the bass does start picking up from there, especially when we get into the action scenes with Silver Surfer. And then with this grand finale, it does have a whole lot of bass. So kudos for Marvel for picking up the LFE department. Again, I thought LFE was actually pretty good for Captain America 4, and I thought it wasn't that bad either for Thunderbolts. So it seems at least for bass response, they're doing something good there. I also think Thunderbolts and Captain America 4 also sounded better than this Fantastic Four as an overall experience. Now, as far as the video quality, again, I had mentioned that this from start to finish, I don't know if this is going to change in the Disney Plus version. Unfortunately for Thunderbolts, it's still only 2.39 to 1. At least as far as I know, there is no IMAX enhanced version on Disney Plus. So maybe this is going to get the IMAX treatment on Disney Plus, but right now, if you're checking this out on iTunes, and I'm expecting on other platforms, it might be 239 as well. But as far as like HDR, we are looking at a max CLL of 997 and a max FALL of 463. I watched this in Dolby Vision. And if you're coming from Superman, I believe that was something like 187 and then 111. I know people were really disappointed about the HDR performance on that. However, on my displays, on my OLED and on my TV, it's really bright. It looks really bright. And this is equally, I would say this is equally as bright, especially if you're watching this in Dolby Vision. I also have a Lumigen on the projector, so I have some really good highlight recovery as well and shadow detail as well. Now, since we're talking about aspect ratio, I did come across this as I was doing a little bit of homework. So here we have a screen grab of what is on the digital version, which you're probably seeing at home on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side is a picture that somebody took from Lincoln Square, which is in New York City. And as you can see, since this was shot on the Arri Alexa 6.5, which I believe has like a 1.5 or 1.44 sensor or something like that. It's a large format sensor. So the idea here is that maybe 1.90 is the actual aspect ratio. So 239 would be what is happening in the center here. But if you're watching 190, the entire frame would be all of your picture information. And I believe they did this for Joker as well. They cropped in for the IMAX shots, the 1.43. Everything here in the center is the 143 is what they were touting as being IMAX. When in actuality, if you watch this in 190, that would be the true kind of open matte format for this specific camera. So whether or not they're doing that with Fantastic Four, I guess that's yet to be seen, but I mean, that looks like that might be the case. However, if we just go back to this, you can see in the 1.43 aspect ratio in the IMAX scenes, if you saw this at the theater, there's definitely more information top and bottom for the 143 version, whereas it's really cropped out of that. So are we going to be getting the is Disney going to get the 190 version, or are they only going to be getting the 2.39? That is the question at hand. And are you guys disappointed that we are not getting the IMAX version? All right. Now, for HDR, as I said, 997 max CLL. So this does get pretty bright, especially in Dolby Vision. Here we have some great specular highlights, a lot of nice specular detail in this shot here. This is where Johnny Storm is flying towards the beginning of the movie. We get some nice stuff here as well. This looks very similar to Lex Luthor's lair in Superman. So we get some nice outdoor scenery here, nice bright speculars, also the nighttime shots as well. I know this is an SDR, which you're seeing in 1080p, but some nice contrast here with the black and the white in the background. Johnny Storm popping off the screen as well. This can get really bright, so I don't think anybody's going to be wanting as far as HDR is concerned. And of course, for shadow detail, I found that black levels on this did edge a little bit more on the really dark gray. This does look very similar to what Superman had looked like. They did add some film emulation to this, which you might be able to tell in this shot here. So despite this being shot in 6.5K, you don't really get that super crisp digital look from that 6.5K sensor. So that little soft fall off on edges and all that is meant to mimic a vintage look from the 60s and give it a slightly softer appearance overall. Still plenty of detail, as you can see here in Ben Grimm's face, especially in this shot here. If you're watching this on digital, I think it might be a little harder to tell on digital because I had a bit of a issue because sometimes the compression can make film grain not look as refined. So this might be tough to see in the screenshot, but there's definitely some very light layer of grain. And again, detail, super crisp, super sharp there, especially for the digital effects. And I would say that Galactus is probably one of the better looking villains that we've gotten in a long time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because this guy is just full of detail. You can see all kinds of stuff in his body, and his armor is just, you can count every little stitch, every little piece of metal and fleck. This is just really great character design and a ton of detail in this. And again, that added film emulation does give this a very filmic look overall. Also a very vintage look, as I said, from the 60s, which you can tell from some of the sets here. So they're using some really vintage looking cars. And again, I would say this movie, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, probably two of my favorite looking movies in the MCU for the past like 2 decades now. It's a very unique look. I know it's not for everybody. Some folks really like that really sharp look, like Civil War, Captain America, maybe Infinity War. But I really like the kind of the older vintage look here that they're going. Again, the black levels are decent, but I felt like they were slightly elevated, not super sharp and crisp in contrast as some other digitally shot films, like something like maybe Midway, Power Rangers. So in the shadow detail department, still decent, but I wouldn't say it would be my top pick for having the ultimate in black level. Now, overall, I think this, if you like the Thunderbolts, you're probably going to like this transfer. Thunderbolts, I would say, has a better audio mix, but visually, I'm going to put these really on par with each other. I kind of like this one. I mean, I did kind of like Fantastic Four. I did like the colors on this, so very much like Superman. The HDR does help with a lot of that color, makes it pop really nicely. I mean, stuff here, great contrast here between the reds, the pops of red, the blacks, nice speculars from the lamps outside. So, I mean, overall, just really nice HDR presentation. And is this guy in every movie this year or what? Him and Pedro Pascal. Anyways, if I'm going to rate this, I'm going to go with an 8 for video. And then for audio quality, despite it being really busy, I'm only going to go with a 7.5 for audio, because even though all 6 of my high channels were active for for a good portion of this movie, high channels are active. It's mostly just all really light music that you're going to hear in the top channels, and the bed layer as well. A lot of just really light music in the bed channels. Those few scenes that I showed you with the dynamic objects floating around, those were the real standout scenes. The stuff with the surfer, even that chase kind of sucked as well. So basically just a surfer that took place in the New York City, in like the Times Square there. Probably like the best sounding parts in this movie. So 8 for video, 7.5 for audio. Question is for you guys. Have you guys seen this? Did you watch the digital version today, or did you watch it in some other way? Leave your thoughts down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on Fantastic Four. And was this your favorite movie, MCU movie this year? Or did you prefer Captain America or Thunderbolts? Leave your comments down below. If you do want to pick this up, I will leave some links for it down below in this video's description. Thanks for watching. If you want, you can follow me on social media, and I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Shane Lee. If you want to join the crew over there, we have a really nice crew over there and some very informative chats going on 24/7. That's patreon.com/Shane Lee. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. All right, so that's it. That's a wrap for that. Let's check out the comments really quick. If you guys want to check out the full episode, I am going to cut this down to make it more palatable, so it's going to be shorter. But this full stream is going to be on the other channel. There will be a link down in this video's description to my other channel, Dynamically Challenged, where all these live streams and live reviews will live in their entirety. But let's see what we got here. Of course, super chats are welcome if you have any pressing questions. But I'll hang out for a few minutes and see what you guys got to do. Audio. Yeah. At least we had F1 and Fantastic Four. Yes, F1 and F4. We got that this year. No, I don't have the Blu-ray. Did you get to check out Demon Slayer Infinity Castle in theaters? I have not checked that out, Gary. I'm not the biggest fan of anime. However, I do want to watch Demon Slayer on Netflix, because I hear that did pretty well at the cinemas. So I do plan on checking that out sometime this week. I just finished this 30 seconds ago. Oh, what'd you think? Did you like it? I just bought The Last Dance on Blu-ray and now tempted to pick up the extended cut finally on 4K UHD. Both releases have Dolby Atmos. Are you talking about The Last Dance with Michael Jordan? Is that the one you're talking about? Because if you are, that is a good documentary. Although it is, of course, it's a really heavy on Michael Jordan. It really makes Michael Jordan look like a really good dude in that. As it should, right? What's this? Only saw Fantastic Four in Screen X. I've never been to a Screen X. I would like to. I did see, Epson did throw this display up. It was kind of Screen X-ish, where they had all of these ultra short throws lined up, like in the front and also on the sides, and they shot an image of some video game playing. I think it was like an F1 video game or something like that. Does he still have a Kaleidoscape? Yes, I do have a Kaleidoscape. Matter of fact, I was probably one of the first guys to review Kaleidoscape on YouTube. If you go back about 6 years ago, you'll see that I have one of the first reviews. And yes, I've had it for a very long time. What's up, Jason? I just watched it on K, and I agree with everything he's saying. Bam, there you go. Yes, the mix is very front heavy. It's yeah, so I watched it, I watched the digital version, and I did have to turn it up. If I'm comparing it to Superman isn't like the loudest movie, but I think it was about -28 on Superman, and I had to go to -16 on Fantastic Four. So I had to really crank it for Fantastic Four. Oh, look at this. Bobby Digital coming through with the super chat. Thank you, Bobby Digi. Have you dropped the K-scape and going with Zidu now? If true, why you made that decision? Well, I made that decision because Classicate movies are very expensive, are they not? I've always had deals with studios to send to me movies, as you guys have known in the past. I've been doing this for like 6-7 years now. So typically I will get sent discs in the mail, and buying Kaleidoscape movies all the time, not the most financially responsible thing for me to do, I guess. So hey, listen, if they want to keep sending me movies, I will gladly take movies from Kaleidoscape if they want to sponsor any videos. However, I've been kicking back doing the disc reviews because I'll always get more views on disc reviews than I will on Kaleidoscape reviews. So let's be serious about that. Most people have a have a disdain for the Cloud Escape, whereas most people are definitely more forgiving on disc reviews. And then it makes sense too, if I started off doing digital reviews, then I can always go back and compare it to the disc as well. Now, if it's something I really want, I'll pick it up on the Cloud Escape. If it's something that I'm going to use to demo my home theater, I'll pick it up on the Cloud Escape. But the only thing that I picked up on the Cloud Escape this year is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, because I have everything else on the Cloud Escape. So, of course, I would pick that up. And, there's some pretty good scenes in that. So I am waiting for the disc to come out to do that review, which should be out very shortly. But if it's something that I'm going to watch over and over again, I'm going to use it in my speaker reviews, home theater reviews, then I'll pick it up on the Cloud Escape. Otherwise, from here on out, you will be seeing disc reviews and also out of the home theater reaction reviews on Apple iTunes, because sometimes I am part of the Apple iTunes crew, so I do get some early releases on iTunes. But no, I haven't dropped them. If you want to see more K-Scape videos, listen, if I gather in a lot of super chats and stuff like that, and you guys want me to pick up something to review on the Cloud Escape, I'll be more than happy to do that. And again, thank you, Bobby Digital, for your super chat. Haha, disdain. It's so fortunate that some people give off that vibe. Hey man, I've been dealing with that Cloud Escape hate for, again, like 6-7 years now. Remember, man, I had the Cloud Escape before all the other YouTubers out there got some freebies from them. They never gave me a player, so I got the player myself. Everybody else now has a Cloud Escape player, as if you guys didn't already know. So I wasn't fortunate enough to get one. I wasn't fortunate enough to get a long-term Cloud Escape loan or a long-term Terra loan. I had to get it myself. And I remember back then that every time I would talk about it, or I would do a speaker review on a Cloud Escape, or I would do a review from the Cloud Escape, I got so much hate because it cost so much money, blah, blah, blah. Nowadays, everybody, the whole YouTube home theater community, it used to be Klipsch, used to be Denon, Marantz, used to be Emotiva. It used to be very affordable mid-range gear, entry-level to mid-range gear. Literally everybody now has a Trinov. They've all got AV10s, AV20s. Marantz is all high-end $7,000, $10,000 AV processors. I don't know of many home theater YouTubers with receivers anymore. I think everybody's got a processor now. So it's like, I built my niche on doing high-end gear, but I haven't had anything to review anymore because everybody else has been doing high-end stuff. So it's like, I've gotten so much hate from doing all the high-end stuff in the past, but now it's become the norm all across the board. So all this disdain, it's really subsided a lot in the past, I want to say like year or two. Now that it's like, I know we're like in this kind of recession or whatever, but where's everybody getting the money to get all this gear? It's like, I mean, back then, 4 or 5 years ago, it was like nobody could afford anything super high end, but now everybody's got high end. It's kind of crazy. But not some, there's definitely still some more disdain for Cloud Escape, not as much as it used to be because so many more people have it and a lot more people are talking about it on a weekly basis. So another reason why I got off the Cloud Escape train is that everybody's got it. So you know what? Why don't I go back? Why don't I do disc reviews? And I'll do it to the highest degree I can possibly do it. Just like I've always done it. In which everybody can afford 4K Blu-rays. However, 4K Blu-rays have been getting a lot more expensive lately. If you guys hadn't noticed, I think Tron was selling for like $100 from scalpers on eBay and stuff like that. So it's been getting harder to get movies. There's definitely some great deals on the Cloud Escape still. If you have a Cloud Escape, you can get Final Reckoning just dropped to like what, $20? I think it was $19.99. No, wait, was it 19? No, it was Final Reckoning is $15 as of last week. And the 4K Blu-ray is not even out yet. I mean, I still had like a $5 credit, so I picked it up for $10. So I mean, there's some great deals. I'm sure when the 4K Blu-ray of Final Reckoning comes out, it's probably going to be like 30, 30, 35, 40 bucks. Jason, you're the reason I got a K-scape LOL along with the local home theater store in my town. Oh man, I'm glad I could. I'm glad you got it because of me. But sorry, I'm not gonna be showing any more love. So I guess you're gonna have to go back to a Zidu and ripping your movies. I'm just kidding. Your detailed Atmos viewer insights is what consistently draws me back, along with the high-end gear reviews in the past. The only thing about high-end gear reviews is like they come out and it's like high-end gear lasts for a few years, and then it's like you have nothing really high-end to review anymore. It's always the mid-range and entry-level stuff that comes out every year. What are you sipping on? I am sipping on some strawberry lemonade. That's what I'm sipping on today. With ice. Oh, also have strawberries in as well. See? Yeah. So some ice, some strawberries in there. I'm trying to be healthy. Usually I'd go on these live streams with you guys and I'd get a little hammered and I would start getting a little nasty. So I figured, you know what? Maybe not drink so much while I'm online. Now is a good time to get into Kaleidoscape. 4Ks are crazy expensive, especially if get a Blu-ray drive to connect to it. You can get a lot of movies upgraded to 4K for like $4. Yeah, man, they got that cool deal. If you have a Kaleidoscape and you have a compatible drive, you can definitely upgrade your movies. What is happening here with Skylake Pro? He seems to be going off here. Till you find a movie that doesn't load, or till you find a movie that doesn't load or on Kscape. What's a Visudio? I just found out Kaleidoscope and would love a reasonably priced alternative. I've never heard of Vuzidio. I guess I should probably look it up, right? Vuzidio. Visidio? Business development? I have no idea what Vuzidio is, my man. Can't tell you. Can't tell you at all. But all right. I'm going to hop off. I'm going to edit this. I will leave a link to the other channel down in the video's description if you want to check out the full version of this. Otherwise, hang out and I'm going to edit this down and put in some higher quality images, some higher quality 4K screen caps. So thanks for watching, guys. Thank you, Bobby Digital, for the super chat, and